the topic of compulsion and free will is what we are concerned with. The topic of compulsion and free will is what we are concerned with. When do you call something a compulsion? When do you call something a compulsion?
When we are not interested in it and we have to do it.
When you are not interested in it. So write down. At a superficial level, compulsion is when the mind does not feel interested. At a superficial level, compulsion is when the mind does not feel interested. Right? And then according to you, when you feel interested, it is not compulsion, correct? When you feel interested, then it is not a compulsion. Alright? So at the basis of your concept of compulsion lies the concept of interest. Interest determines whether an activity is a compulsion or not. Am I right? Now where do these interests come from? Where do these interests come from? Where do these interests come from?
When we see some other one doing some work, we get interested from that work.
Alright. Now you said that compulsion is when I am not interested in something. Right? So compulsion is when there is an external influence acting on you. Correct? You are not interested, but an external influence is acting on you. That's what compulsion is. That's what compulsion is. And now I ask you what interest is. Don't do that. And now I ask you what interest is, and you say interest is that which we gather from others doing something. Interest is that which we gather from others doing something. And what else is compulsion then? If your interests also come from the outside, how are they different from compulsion?
There is an internal influence also.
Avoid.
There is an internal influence also in the interest.
Alright. What is this thing called internal?
From the mind.
From the mind. Let's try to understand it. What's your name? Nitin. Nitin says that mind is internal. Nitin says that mind is internal. And hence he says that when an interest arises from the mind, it is mine. It is mine. Write down the question. Is my mind really mine? Only if my mind is mine, then I can legitimately call my interests as mine. You say your interests arise from your mind, right? Is my mind really mine? Write down. My within quotes. Is my mind really mine? Alright, let's try to understand this thing called mind, which is the seat of all your interests and disinterests as well. you called something as your intrinsic interest. Is there anything that you were always interested in? Is there anything that you were always interested in? First question, write down. Is there anything that I was always, and always in bold letters? Always in bold letters. Is there anything that I was always interested in? Second, is there anything any interest, anything, comma, any interest that comes to me irrespective of my background, and background means past. Is there anything, and that anything means any interest, that comes to me irrespective of my past? Question 3. Would my interests have been the same? Would my interests have been the same had I been born and brought up? Had I been born and brought up? Would my interests have been the same had I been born and brought up in a different society, in a different age, maybe even as a different gender? Alright? Answer these questions. What is the first one? What is the first question? Is there something that I was always interested in? Yes, is there anything? So if you are not always interested in, time gave it to you. The entire movement of your life gave it to you. Can you call it yours? Can you call it yours? If you did not always have it, surely it came from outside. You're not getting it. It's very direct and very simple. Don't allow your notions to interfere with this. If you did not always have it, surely it came from somewhere else. Is it not simple? It came from somewhere else. What's the second question?
Is there anything that comes to me irrespective of my background?
Take away your history and then tell me, would any interest still survive? Forget that you were born in India as a male or a female in a particular age, were brought up in a particular locality, were made to believe in a certain religion, were made to believe in a particular set of ethics, had a particular set of parents who taught you a few things, went to this and that school. Take away all of that, and would your interests yet remain? So where are these interests coming from? Obviously they are external influences. Obviously they are external influences. But then, The very first statement that you made was that external influences are compulsions and we don't like them. We don't like them. Now, how intelligent is it of us to call some external influences as compulsions and other external influences as interests? How intelligent is that of us? Not very intelligent, but then you may still turn around and say, sir, some of these external influences we like and some of them we don't like. When we like an influence, then we call it an interest. And when we don't like it, then we call it a compulsion. We agree. We agree that we didn't always have it. We agree that it's not intrinsic, that it's not coming from within. We agree that whatever we call as our choice, as our interest or our disinterest is an external influence. But still there, we have a degree of say. We do have some free will in that. After all, we don't like every external influence. You want to say that? You want to say that? So I'm just preempting your words. You want to say that? Yes? Alright. Now, when you are being taught something, when an external influence is taking place, you see, it not only gives you an interest, it not only gives you a particular liking, it actually tells you what is to be liked and what is to be disliked. This entire process is called conditioning. What is it called? Conditioning. Note down that word, conditioning. Conditioning. Getting it? For example, do we have vegetarians here, pure vegetarians? You surely do not like to have non-vegetarian food, right? Chances are that happened because since childhood, there was an influence upon you that one kind of food is better than the other kind of food. Surely a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old cannot really distinguish between vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. Similarly, we'll have people here who are having non-vegetarian food since a very young age, right? Because that was the norm in their families. Today, if you ask most of the vegetarians, they'll say we dislike this kind of food. Now, do you really dislike it? You can dislike something only when you understand what the whole thing is about. Do you really understand? And it requires a great deal of intelligence to understand what is food, what is body, and what is this thing called eating. We don't, because we are probably born in a certain religion that holds certain kinds of beliefs. So we grow up having one kind of like and another kind of dislike. This is a very obvious case, so it is visible. Obviously visible. But This is just the same with any kind of interest or disinterest that we hold. Kindly do not think that if you are interested in something, it implies your freedom. If you think that you are doing something because you are interested in it, you feel a certain degree of freedom, right? I was interested in it and I want to do it. So there is a certain degree of freedom in it. And conversely, you feel bad when you are doing something that you are not quite interested in. But if it turns out that both interests and disinterests are external influences, then is there any reason to rejoice fulfilling your interests? You see, if it turns out, there are two ways to enslave a man. There are two ways to enslave a man. One is, make him do something forcibly, and then he'll resist it, right? And then he'll most likely resist it. The other way is, condition him. Condition him into liking what you want him to do. And then will he resist it? Will he resist it? He'll not only do it, but also claim that he is doing it out of his free will. Are you getting it? If you make a man do something forcibly, then there is the law and the society and an ethical code to prevent this kind of happening. But if you are more subtle, more cunning, and the other fellow is quite ignorant, not conscious enough, then why take all the pains of forcing somebody? Just create a set of beliefs in his mind, and he'll willfully start doing a lot of things. I'm proposing something to you, which you may just write down. This is not an assertion. Right now, just a proposal. You will consider it. All the contents of our mind are external influences. All the contents of our mind are external influences. All the contents of our mind are external influences. Now, if you are even semi-intelligent, then this statement should trouble you a lot. Are you getting it? If you are even a little conscious, you'll cringe upon reading this. What is being said? I think I am my mind. My mind is my greatest asset. And I am being told that my mind is nothing but a creation of external influences. You will certainly not like it. You will want to examine the authenticity of this statement. Would you or would you not? Yes? But if you are someone who is not bothered with himself, who has no regards for himself, then you will say, how does it matter? Even if I am a slave, let it be so. Let it be so. Let's go into it. What is this thing called the mind? What have I just proposed? What have I just proposed? Yes? क्या लिखा है आपने? Yes. What have you written down? We'll have to understand this thing called minds, because all interests and disinterests, where do they live? Where do they reside? In the mind. We'll have to understand this thing called the mind. And remember, I am not talking about my mind. I am not talking about my interests and disinterests. It's your mind and your life. So whose responsibility it is to go into it? Yours, right? Be very attentive and go into it. What is this thing called the mind? What is this mind? Consider this question. What is this thing called the mind? Consider it. What is mind? Yes, but tell me, what is mind?
Our mind is like a storage device. What it sees, it gathers in it, and interprets it.
Right. That's part of the answer. That's part of the answer. But our mind is not merely a hard drive. Or is that what you want to say? Just a storage device? Yeah? Mind is that part of our mind?
That part of our body.
That part of our being?
Which experiences things, assess it, and then it stores the information that this kind of work we like, this we don't like. Means it stores the experiences.
So experience is the storing part, which he has already talked of. Storage, memory. Memory. Memory is time. Time is external influence. What happened to you in the past? What happened to you in the past? So yes, part of what you have said is part of the answer. That the mind is a storage device. Yes, right? But is the mind only a storage device?
It also contains the intelligence level. So we can decide on our pre-experiences what will be the good for us and what can be the bad part of it. So if a new experience comes through us, we can face it and we can decide whether we should, what should we do in that circumstance.
You see, that much even a machine can do. If you have to decide based on the previous experience, that even a computer can do. You feed a computer a software and a database. You feed a computer a program and an associated database, and the computer gains decision making abilities. Does it or does it not? All it requires is a database and a program, and it has certain decision making capability. So if you are saying that our decisions come on the basis of past, then you are still confined to that bit of the answer which says that the mind is a storage device. Intelligence. Now what is that? Is that something that is dependent on the past? Partly. Then would you call a computer an intelligent system?
So computer does not have creativity.
What do you mean by that?
Creativity to create new ideas.
New ideas? What do you mean by new? What about ideas? What do you mean by new? New is that which is not the past. Not the past. And a machine is always dependent on the past. Howsoever much smart a computer is it not dependent on its programming? It can't work without that. What is this thing called intelligence then? Go into this word, new. What does it have to do with intelligence? New.
If new circumstances or new difficulties come up in our life.
How do you know something is a difficulty? What do you mean by a difficulty? You see, You call something a difficulty because in the past you have learned that this is a difficulty. If an entirely new situation comes to you, would you be able to call it a difficulty? Entirely new. You have no experience of it in the past. Will you be able to label it as a difficulty? You are afraid of a lion. Why? Because in your past you know that lions are dangerous. So what does intelligence do? What is intelligence? What do you mean by the new? And if we don't understand that, then we are not really human beings.
It develops new ideas about them.
Yeah, but then what is that new? Before you say new ideas, what is new? What is meant by new?
So something that doesn't pre-exist in our memories that we haven't experienced.
But the brain is a reservoir of memories as well, right? We all have a lot of memories stored here. We all have a lot of memories stored here. But sheer dependence on the past, the existence of conditioning, which I am calling as programming in case of machines, the existence of the program and memories, which you can call as the database, they do not make you human. To be human is to be able to perceive the new, the now. The best of computers cannot respond to an input that it has not been programmed for. Am I right? The best of computer systems, they cannot respond to an input that they have not been programmed for. Am I right? But an intelligent human being, an intelligent mind, can respond even to an entirely new challenge, even to an entirely new situation of which he has no experience in the past. Am I right? Am I right? So can we say that this capacity to act independent of the past is what is called intelligence? This capacity to be in the new, to experience it and yet to respond it, is what is called intelligence. You seem to agree with it? Then write down something. Human mind is then brain plus intelligence. Mind is brain plus intelligence. Mind is brain plus intelligence. Clear? Brain is what you were talking of. Write down, brain is programming plus database. Brain is programming plus database. And then intelligence is the action of the brain is called thoughts. Action of the brain is called thoughts. When the brain functions, what you get is called thoughts, which necessarily implies that all your thoughts and interests and disinterests, they are also thoughts. You think about it, right? This thought occurs to you, and I'm interested in it or I'm disinterested in it, right? Which necessarily means that all your interests, disinterests and everything are part of your programming, are part of your conditioning. And they are arising from this brain. which is a product of evolution, which you have gained as you have grown up. The action of intelligence is called attention. Attention. The action of intelligence is called attention. So brain is thoughts and intelligence is attention. And all thoughts will come from the past.
But how mind is and intellect are related?
How mind and
Intellect are related. Intellect.
the brain is the seat of intelligence. The brain is the seat of intelligence. What you call as mind is an abstract entity comprising of two elements: brain, which is the physical part, and intelligence, which again is something abstract, which can be seen only in its effect, only in its functioning, the functioning of which is intelligence, attention. Sorry.
So, but mind keeps on fluctuating. But
Yes,
that-
mind keeps on fluctuating because your brain is susceptible to influences, and influences keep on changing. What is your brain? Your brain is a result of your past, and every passing moment is becoming the past. The brain lives in time. When we are talking of past and future, we are talking of time, right? And time is continuously changing, moving ahead. There is a flow of time. With every passing moment, situations are changing. Situations are changing. Your brain is also changing. Thoughts are changing. Are you thinking of the same thing right now? For those of you who are thinking, are you thinking the same thoughts right now you were thinking 10 minutes back or 2 hours back? No, right? We all see how our thoughts keep changing. And we think that these are our thoughts and that we are thinking them. We do not recognize that all thoughts come from external influences. For example, a group of students passes by there, and they are making some kind of noise. And what is it likely to do? It's likely to activate some thoughts in your mind. Consider this situation. A group of students, a group of noisy students passes by, and they are talking of something loudly. This will activate thoughts in your mind, right? You'll start thinking of something. Will all of you start thinking of the same thing? No. So two things stand out. One, thoughts arise from external influences. Second, thoughts arise from the conditioning of my brain. Thoughts arise from the conditioning of my brain. Whatsoever you have here in the brain is surely a product of conditioning. It is not yours. It is not at all yours. It has been given to you. It has come to you from the outside. Let's just say it's an external influence, the word that we started with. It's an external influence. Now, what all has been given to you? The list is endless. The list is endless. Write down a few things that have been given to you, which are nothing but, write down, body, body. Do you see that none of it is yours? The first couple of cells came from your parents, and then it's air, water, food, sunlight, and all of these are external. Gender. Any of you here who really wrote an application to be born in a particular gender? Yeah? I mean, going by the ratio here, it does seem that you did write an application. Nationality. Anybody who chose to be an Indian here? Physical processes, bodily processes. Anybody who chose to be young, that now I am 15, so I must grow some bodily hair. Anybody who chose that? All of these are external influences. They are just happening. You have no role in that. Though we keep claiming that, I am breathing. My heartbeat. Anyone here who decides that his heart should beat? Let him also decide that it should not beat for 15 seconds at least, if he may. Next, write down. Religion. Beliefs. Targets. Desires. Concept of success. This is what fills up the mind. This is what makes up our identities. And you may write down that word. Add that word identity to that list. Identities. Identities. And all of this is coming from outside. And all of this is surely coming from outside. The entire content of our brain, every single cell of the brain, the entire programming is coming from outside. Whether you choose to think at this moment, whether you are distracted at this moment, all of that is not your action. It is being determined by your past, by external conditions. And if you are intelligent, you will see that all this is slavery. All this is slavery. Because to be free, to be a master and not a slave, means to be free of external influences. If all the time I am doing only that which has been imposed on me, then am I a slave or not? Am I a slave or not? I have been told by external situations, I was born in a particular kind of family and society, that clearing the JEE is a great success. So I worked hard for it, without understanding what the whole matter is about. And then when I got a particular rank, I was not even shy of claiming that I am successful. I am calling my slavery as success. I have been handed over a few notions that if you do this in life, that if you achieve this in life, then you are successful. Kindly put it on silent. I said that very
It's on
categorically.
my phone and it has a lock. what do you mean by success or who am I?
You tell me, you have been chasing it all along, and today you ask me. It's good that you're asking. But then along with you asking, a question should arise. How have I been living my life? You are the one who is chasing success. And your concept of success comes from your surroundings. Do success and achievement mean the same to all people? Do they mean the same to all people? And why are they different to different people? Because different people are brought up in different situations. They are handed over different sets of beliefs. You are handed over something. Your master tells you to go fetch a particular good from the market. And you start running to get that something. And you start thinking that this is success. You start thinking that this is success. Have you ever bothered to stop and ask, what do I mean by success? Is there anything called success? You are told to come a particular Saturday morning and you say, this is slavery. And you don't even realize that that's what you have been all your life. Anybody who does not recognize an external influence as an external influence is nothing other than a slave. A free man is one who acts out of his intelligence, not out of the influences of the surroundings, not out of what parents and society and education and media have been telling him. Your deepest desires are borrowed. What is yours in that? You feel hungry because your body is programmed to feel hungry. Have you decided that your body should feel hungry? Have you decided really? It's the millions of years of evolution that have brought your brain today to a point where upon feeling hungry it conveys a particular kind of stimulus and the organism then starts rushing towards food. But what do you claim? I am hungry. As if it is an act of your intelligence. I am hungry. Anyway, hunger is something that's been with you since childhood. Now you have come to a point where you also start feeling attracted towards the other gender, women. And you don't realize that it's not you but some chemicals, some hormones that are being released. They were not being released 5 years or 10 years back. And then you are not attracted to women. But today you say, I have fallen in love. As if there is any I present in any of that. You have seen cattle running after each other in the marketplace? You have seen them? They are greatly in love with each other. Greatly in love with each other. There also it's a game of hormones. But when that happens to us, we think, we are free creatures. We are free creatures. And it's an act of our doing. If it's an act of your doing, then why must it happen only at 18? Why was it not happening at 8? And why will it not happen at 80? Today you are 18 and it's happening to you. Why was it not happening 10 years back? Because it's purely an external thing. Your body, it's programming. It's programming. You haven't programmed your body. It's a carryover from your past. You had no say in any of that. You had no say in any of that. You have no idea what is happening within which makes you sexually excited. You have no idea. And then you give it great names like falling in love. Why did you fall in love at 8? Or does love happen only at a particular age and wither after another age? Born in India, you claim cricket is my interest. How many of you are interested in cricket? Many of you. Born in Brazil, would you have said I'm interested in cricket? Then you would have been interested in? So of course your interest is not your interest. It's coming from? But then you don't call that slavery. But coming here at 9 is a slavery. Is there anything in your life which is not slavery? Give me one thing in your life which is yours, which you have not borrowed from the society or environment or parents or evolution or education or media or newspapers or politicians or religion or ideologies or philosophies. You have just borrowed it. This part from there, this part from there, this part from there, and you have started calling it yours. None of that is yours. Are you just a sum total of all that has happened to you? Or are you something more than that? Are you just a sum total of all that has happened to you? Or are you something more than that? Something more than that? Are you sure? Are you sure? What is that more than that? What is that called? What is that called? What is that called? You just invented the soul. You just invented it. Where does this word come to you from? Where does this word come to you from? From your family. From some book that you have read. Part of your slavery. Part of your slavery. Coming from outside. Even this word is coming to you because I have created an environment. Would you have asked this at 10 a.m. on any other morning? Today I am here, so this question is popping up.
How does it matter whether we are slaves or not?
Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't. Unless one sees that life is freedom and not to be free is to be not only a moron but to be absolutely dead. And it will not bother you that you are a slave if you have no taste of freedom. You see, if I am born in slavery, and I have known nothing except slavery, then slavery cannot bother me. But slavery will start deeply bothering me if I get even a little taste of freedom. Are you getting it? You keep a fellow enslaved all his life, and he'll be gladly enslaved because he has very little idea of freedom, very little experience of freedom, no taste of it. It is possible that most of us are so deeply enslaved, we do not know the joy of freedom. then we are surely going to ask, what's wrong with slavery? There have been cases, there was that woman who had a headache right since childhood, and the headache was a perpetual one. It would never go away. 24 hours, the headache would be there with her. The doctors, they examined her for some other ailment and they told her that you are always having a headache. No, she was not at all bothered because she had never known